Because everybody's done this before. Who's done ModKit? Okay, that's the majority. Who's done Robot C? Okay, and then of those who did graphical Robot C. So a lot of them. So text-based Robot C was just a few. Okay. Text Robot C, wow, that's tough. The problem with text Robot C, as I see it, is how difficult it is to debug the program because you can have any text in there. There's unlimited options. Whereas this type of programming has a limited number of options. Therefore, debugging can be a lot easier. So, we're going to use this robot. This is a robot that was built by one of my campers. It's actually a camper who went to 2 camps. In the second camp, this is second iteration. Actually, built. Well, third iteration, because there's a couple different versions. And it's got the ability just to pick up the cubes. And so what we want to do is go over a ModKit program. We took Dane's program from last year, which was #1 in the world, right? For autonomous for next level. In fact, you were the only team to score over 23 more than once. You did it 3 times.
Oh, there's one team.
You did it once. Okay, so the assumption is everybody knows how to start this part, right? So we got the robot built and in the right ports.
I'm gonna zoom out a bit.
Okay. Good idea. Great, perfect. Okay. So we're not going to do anything as far as setting up the robot or defining the ports or doing the stuff, right? Naming everything. Let's start in the blocks for the controller. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about, can you zoom out a little bit, is making our life easy. So advanced techniques, let's be efficient. Let's not waste a bunch of time by doing a lot of work twice. So the first thing we do is we don't have 2 programs. Everybody wants to maintain 2 programs, one for autonomous and one for driver. No. All your programs should be a goal to be really good at autonomous robot and use some of those subroutines for your driver control. In driver control, the goal should not be to make an easy to drive robot or an easy to drive remote control toy, right? So the difference between a remote control toy and a robot is a robot does things smartly, right? So for example, in this robot, here Dave shows. Score some points there. I think a lot of people have to turn it on. So this is a robot that's been programmed with some smarts to it. So you see, when he hits one button, it closes the grip and lifts to a height, and then the height is exactly where it should be, right? Because there's an encoder in that motor that knows how far it should turn. So it's programmed to know to get to the right height. That was bad driving. Try again. Try again with better driving. So you can see how the arm only goes to the lowest position, to this middle position, and to the highest position. It's smart. It's a robot. It's not a remote control. It's not just randomly going to wherever it wants to. He's got the smarts built into it. Okay? So that's what we want to do for robots. We want you to build a robot that helps the drivers do well. And to do that most efficiently, because we're going to want those same smarts in a program for an autonomous routine, right? When this thing is going to autonomously cross the field, pick up things, place them on the things, we need that smarts in that too. So we're going to create one program that does both. And one of the rules of VEX requires you to take out the controller. The rule states, to read deep in there, I've never done it in my term because I don't care, is that when you come to the skills field for autonomous skills, you have to bring your controller and you have to show it's not turned on. So they wrote the rule because somewhere, someone pointed along the line, somebody didn't bring the controller and somebody in the crowd or somebody standing nearby was controlling the robot in autonomous skills. And so the anti-cheat rule that they had to put in place, that somebody was cheating at some point, was you gotta bring the controller and it can't be turned on. Well in ModKit, if you have it programmed into your ModKit, and I think the same may be the case for Robot C, to need a controller, it won't start without the controller. So we program everything that needs to be done with the controller into one tab under the controller. When you come in here and just throw this away with ModKit, all that code goes away with it. That new program, which you won't save over the old one because you lose that, can now be downloaded in the robot and be run as autonomous skills. So you've created one program that can be quickly converted into the second one to be legal for autonomous skills. Okay, any questions about that?
So how does that, can you explain how that works?
Where does that code exist?
Yep, so the code for the controller, go back to the tab and go there. Everything that has anything to do with the controller. So up here we have, can you read this all?
No.
I'll zoom in.
Can you zoom in someday? The resolution is really poor. And then scroll around. Oh, that's good enough. You can read it now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see it, controller button, when the controller L is pressed, it does something. Well, what does it do? Just this one thing, it changes the variable. And then that variable drives a bunch of other stuff in the program, and that variable is the only thing that button does. Right? Same for this other button. Now down changes the call state to 0. We'll get into states here in a little bit. The F up changes lift state to 2, F down lift state to 0. R up changes lift state to adds 1 to lift state is lift state plus 1, and R down changes lift state. So all the button reaction to buttons changes the variable. All these orange things are variable. Right? All that. And then here's the code for the controller. In the controller we have, zoom back up a little bit. So we have a start and a forever, and then we have an if else. It says if the controller A is greater than -20 and less than -20, what's that? Right, so that means if your controllers can be from 0 all the way to positive 100 all the way to negative 100, right? But when you set the controller down, you don't want the robot moving away, right? Creeping. And none, especially older controllers, don't always go back to 0. They go to 1 or 2 or 3. And at 3, the robot will move away from you slowly.
In certain things to be programmed, like if it is at like 1 or 2, it'll default to like 10.
Okay.
It does that.
Depending on the program, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but in this case, this whole loop here, the forever loop, is looking at controller A, saying if it's in that dead zone, it becomes 0, right? Otherwise, it just sets it to the value of the joystick. So if you're at 21, it's 21. If you're at -21, it's -21. If you're at 100, it's 100. If you're at 17, it's 0. And we've used a whole bunch of different varieties of dead zones. 20 is a nice, easy spot. I've never seen a robot with a dead zone of 20 ever creep away. So all the sticks, no matter how bad or old they are, they come back close enough to 0 and within 20 or it just works. But this code is in the controller, and it's again only setting as variables. We have a variable, the orange variable stick A and stick D. So none of the other tabs have any of the references to the controller. So as soon as he deletes the controller tab, or deletes the controller from the robot configuration menu, that controller tab goes away, all that code that was looking at those inputs for the controller go away, and this program can stand on its own without a controller. Okay. In Indiana, I'm an EP in Indiana, I've done state championship, we don't care. We know you're not trying to cheat. We're not making sure you bring the controller and make sure it's off. We didn't think anybody cared ever about it,
But
but
crossover.
at World, somebody
2016.
told you.
There was just one judge was like, yeah, you have to bring a controller. So we had to.
Well, you had the control with you.
I think controller,
But it wasn't turned on.
And the person did take us out of line. We were at the field. He kicked us out. We had to go into the program and delete everything with the controller.
Right. So after that, we've been taking this technique so where you can delete the controller.
You need to bring the controller back on.
Well, so you would only do that right before you download it, right before you do the skills. You don't bring the way you can't bring once you delete it, it's gone. There's no way to unpin to delete. So you don't save that file over this file. And so the next time you go to change the file, you open back the one with the controller. Right. So make it fine.
Like save this file, then change the name.
Right. Change the name, save it to the report, and immediately close this window. So you don't save the the program without the controller. Okay. Any other questions about that technique? Where you're going to see as we go through this stuff a lot of interlocking techniques. So first of all, variables are huge, right? The greatest thing about the worst thing about ModKit is that everything's proportioned into these different tabs. So it's hard to talk between tabs, right? I like it though because everything's proportioned to tabs. Everything's contained. It's a small bit of code, right? So each of these tabs has a little bit of manageable code. That means that you don't have a giant ton of code. If you look at a program with an advanced program robot C,
500 lines.
pages and pages and pages, lines and lines and lines. Where's the problem? Who knows? How long is it going to take me as a judge to look at that? A long time. As an adult mentor helping somebody debug a program, you can take a long time just figuring out where the heck I should be looking. right? Whereas my kit is contained, it's simple, it's relatively small amount of stuff. I'm off by a lot of kids, so. Okay, what are we gonna go back to?
I thought we were doing like.
So we did dead zones, right? Talk about dead zones. Slow turning. Show them slow turning.
Alright, so right here we have the basic, just ignore this stuff for now, we'll get it later. Right now you need to just look at this.
Zoom up one more level.
What?
Zoom up one more level.
What?
Zoom in one more level. I feel like there's a hotkey for that probably.
It probably is.
So yeah, so basically, and down here, the velocity of the motor is set to this auto on drive. There's a reason it's set to that variable and not directly to this math. But the math up here, I can't get out. There's one of them. So, left drive, the left motor is a combination of 80% of stick A and 20% of stick B. A is the left stick and B is the right stick. Why do we do that? Anybody have an idea?
So you can turn with a single by activating one joystick?
No, because the right motor is stick D, and it's 80% of D and 20% of A. Okay, so if we were to do left motor is 100% A, and right motor is 100% B, then when we go both motors full forward, it'll go full speed. When we do a full turn, it'll be full speed one side and full speed that, and it turns very fast. Steve's solution to that is to make a lot of friction. My solution is to get clever with programming and make it so that it doesn't do it. So think about this. If you got 80% of your left stick and 20% of your right stick, and you pull full forward on the left and full back on the right, now you have a math of positive 80 and negative 20. What's that out to? 60. And the other one is positive 80, negative 20, 60. And so when it turns, it's turning 60% speed. And depending on the robot, what have we seen in the past with these things? Maybe 70-30?
I use 70-30 in mine.
Because yours really turned out real fast.
2.5.
His robot from this year was very compact. It had a relatively narrow wheelbase, and so it would turn super fast. And so he was 70-30. So when he was full speed turning, it was only turning at 40% of the maximum speed. 40 positive, because the net was
the game was very like you had to line up the hubs to the thing, so yeah, so
right.
So it was very necessary.
So that's an advanced technique that. And if you think about when you push both sticks full forward, you get 80% positive and 20% positive, that's 100 positive, and same thing, 80-20 the other way. So you get full straight line speed. So it's a way to make the motor slow as you're turning, but go fast as you're going straight line. What else?
Reset for this position that we go.
Okay. Yep, so let's go to the lift. So the next thing I have on the bullet point here is encoder reset for consistent positioning. So when you start the robot, so we saw in the demo here, the robot goes to a certain height, right? How does it know how high to go? It looks at the internal motor encoder to know how many revolutions it needs to go, okay? But where I start matters, right? If I start this robot in a different position, then I just want to go a net that much further up, because every time you turn the motor on, it says that's where the zero is. I don't know where the zero is. So you can, and we've done this in the past with teams, just always push down before you turn the robot on. We call it mechanical reset. Yeah.
So what we've done in the past, or at least this last year, is we had a bumper switch. So we'd reset down into the bumper switch.
That's almost exactly what we're doing here.
And then have a known position.
Yeah, but you did it programmatically, right? You would bring the motors down until you hit the bumper switch and knew what it was. We don't, I mean, that's cool and that's a great idea. In the past, we've had motor, lack of ports, lack of bumper switches. We've got 15 teams hard to get 15 bumper switches to work. So what we do is this little bit of code at the start of each of the ones that you do. It says start, set holding on. We set the velocity 100 and we set max power to 10. Okay. We don't want it to kill itself, burying the motors, overheating the motors, and flexing all the plastic parts. We just want it to bottom out. And then spin down, wait for an appropriate amount of time. For this robot, a second seems to be plenty. And then reset the rotation, and then we wait for a little bit of time to make sure there's no bounce back, because as soon as we do the next step, it might bounce off, right? Then we tell it to spin out, and we set the max power to 100. Again, we don't want it to be max power 10 forever. It'll be too weak to be able to lift up the game objects, right? The only reason we allow max power 10 for something like this is because we got gravity working with us. Right? Gravity helps us get it to the bottom. We just need to get a little bit more to make sure we bottom out. Now, the idea is that when the motor's going to push down until it hits the hard stop, right? So there has to be some sort of hard stop built into the robot. In this case, there's a plastic frame here that is hard stopping against, right? And it'll set that position as a 0 because we do this reset rotation bit here. But then from then on, we're going to tell it where to go so that it can be smart to different positions. And we know that 0 is going to be consistent. Every time we turn the thing on, it's going to fire up and take a second and a half or so to run itself down, and it's just off here, right? You see that little motion there? That was it running its little reset program. It's a reset ring. We reset the pull-all being closed, reset the lift being down, so those are consistently always in the right spot. So, you know, run-to-run consistency is going to be eliminating inconsistency, because if you do this and get the motors to the bottom, or if you do this, those motors are in different spots. They're slopping that system. If you slam it down hard and carry all the inertia through the mechanisms, the motors are going to go to a lower point than if you set it down gently. It looks the same, but it depends on how you got there. So slop in the internal gearing of the motors and in your external gearing of your mechanism can cause that to be an inconsistent reset. So this will be a very consistent reset of the motors. And go to the claw for a while. Looks exactly the same stuff, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just do it twice. If you had another claw or an arm or something else, if you had another motor driving another arm, or two motors driving the same arm, we just have two tabs and do the exact same thing twice. Okay?
And the fun part.
Now, are we after that next? Oh, we had that in there. Okay, that's okay. So, how do we make the arms go to where we want them to go to? This is really, really poor man's PID. You know, anybody heard of PID? Okay, who can tell me what PID stands for? Come on, somebody. Proportional integral derivative. Calculus. Damn it, calculus. Sorry. Proportional means you got some response that's proportional to where it's different from where it wants to be, right? So if you're proportionally reacting to something, then if you're far away from it, you're going to move a bunch. As you get closer, you should move less, right? It's proportional. Integral is, it should be PDI actually, because it doesn't make sense. But a derivative is actually where you take the slope of the curve. So if you plot a graph and the position you're going for, your goal position is 0 point, and you're up here too far above it. As you come down, if you're coming down super steep, it'll make an adjustment and lessens the steepness, a derivative. It actually looks at the slope of the curve. Everybody done calculus knows a derivative is slope of the curve, right? What's the integral? Anybody here calculus? Area under the curve. What does an integral do? The integral allows, so if you're up here for a long time above the thing, it adds up that area under the curve, keeps adding up to make a further adjustment to try to get you centered up. So a PID gets you there, gets you so you land softly, and the integral corrects any little intrinsic error. So if you end up getting close but not quite there, the integral will bring it in. Well, VEX has done this and encoded into the motors, into the little controllers inside motors, all these PIDs and everything. It's awesome. But that's great if you ask the motor to go to a certain spot. But it doesn't do you any good for a system-wide PID, right? So for a system-wide PID, you need to create your own. In high school robotics, we're always doing PIDs, or at least PIs, sometimes they leave P off. But in this level, we'll just do proportional. So this is a proportional, right? The math says we want the velocity to be set to some scaling factor, that's kind of important. I'll show you why in a second. Times the difference between the lift position, this is the goal position, that's what we want to go to. So if we say 0 is the bottom and 100 degrees is the top, you know, it's a lot of rotation, right? Then if we tell this it's at 0, so the lift rotation, this is the actual measurement of the rotation of the motor, right? So we say we want our goal will be 100. Then the math says 100 minus 0, that's where we're currently at, is some positive number. And we times the type of scale factor. So we set the velocity to a positive number. Well, that's fine. This is a forever one. It's continuously, as quickly as possible, evaluating over and over again. So as soon as the robot sees, oh, our lift position is different than our actual lift position, then we're going to start moving the robot, right? If this is 100, and that's 100, 100 minus 100 is 0, velocity 0 says what? Move, it's velocity 0, right? So the motor is always doing something. It's trying to get to velocity 0. And because the math for this proportional reaction, it says that if you got a lip position that is, so if I change this variable, I say now I want the lip position to be 200. Well, 200 minus what's now 100 gives me 100. That gives me some positive value. It's going to start lifting the arm up. When it gets to 199, 200 minus 199 is 1. That means the velocity is almost a 0. And in the last little bit, it's going to get to 0. It might, because it gets bumped or because it's got too much momentum, carry past it. What happens if it goes past it? I'm asking for 200. It gives me 205. 200 minus 25 is a negative number. The negative velocity is reversal in the direction. It comes back. So this will take you to that position regardless of where you're at. If you're above it, it'll go negative velocity until it gets down to it. If you're below it, it'll go positive velocity until it gets up to it. It overshoots. If somebody bumps your robot and knocks it off, it's a continuously correcting PID without the IRD. I knew that would be long and like you say. Questions?
You have this on the download piece so we can get the details?
Hello YouTube, it's going on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's close enough to see it, so.
We'll capture some screenshots and put it on.
Control minus. Because that's really the detail. Thank you.
So
There you are.
if that's already passed the PID, in the motor, why not just tell it to go to a certain rotation?
You can do that. However, VEX does not know what your scaling factor needs to be. So the reason this is 0.6 is because that's the appropriate scale factor. If you Google anything on PID, you find that what you have to create is scaling factors for your system so that it does not overshoot. In fact, let's do it. Let's try it. I think we're fine with that. Change our scaling factor to 2 today. And a PID, every PID is tuned to the system it's running. So you have a system here that includes weights, masses, momentum, that VEX has no idea what your weights, mass, and momentum are of your system. So they can't possibly make a PID that's good for your robot. Did that one? Hit run. There's reset. Here's. Why is it doing that? Because the scaling factor is wrong. It's overshooting and it is bouncing back. But so any out-of-the-box PID may not work correctly for this. Now this would be tolerable, right? There's a lot of there's some extra wasted time there. But then imagine if the scaling factor was 5. In fact, give me 3.
I'll give you 4.
So a PID that's built in the motors are good, but they can't possibly be perfect for your system. You get it, Glenn? Yeah, look at this. It's not even light. It's actually, yeah. So that's not gonna work. And that's the same PID, just a different scale factor.
Is that different if it's holding a cube?
What?
Is that different if it's holding a cube?
Yeah, probably is, because the mass is different. And so you may want to dial in that scaling factor based on with and without cube to find the. If you're super clever, you could decide that you have a different scaling factor with this arm open versus this arm closed. Do a little math based on that state. Okay. Now, any other questions about proportional motor levels?
Did you show it at 0.6 yet, just to get an idea of how?
Oh, it was 0.6 before we were demoing.
When you were.
Give me 0.2. Let's go to the other side. So this is also a technique that I teach with kids. Don't just guess. Try to bracket, right? So we know 4 is terrible, 2 is almost tolerable, it's too fast. 0.6 is the same as right. Let's try to see what happens with 2. Down low. So it gets there and it stops, but it's really slow, right? So there's an optimization. You want it to be quickly get to the thing and not overshoot, but not take forever to get. This is never going to overshoot because look how slow it approaches, right? So that's it's not a good version because it's way too slow. So in working with kids, let's which one is it? Right, so it's even slower with the weight of that on there, right? Let's go ahead and go back to like 1. I feel like 1 is probably.
2 is not as bad as this.
Get started. Yeah, so it looks like it overshoots a little bit, especially on the down. Coming down is worse than going up because you got the extra mass of the movement. But it's not doing too much. You can see that. Like go from the top position to the bottom. See, it overshoots a little bit, but it corrects. And that's the great thing about this type of continuously correcting proportional motor control is that even if somebody comes up and pushes this and deflects it somehow, okay, it'll correct itself.
So basically the blocks are the same, the only thing you really need to be adjusting is to that first number. When you're
Yeah, so
setting that up.
right. The magic of the proportional is in the goal minus the actual, right? So we haven't gotten into this yet, but this goal is controlled by a state, set of states, and we'll get it here in a second. And so this is just a number that's based on what we've decided is the appropriate spot for that to be. It's the right level for it to get over the top of the platform. And so the difference between this is the important part because this, you know, is what we're trying to get to, this is what the actual is. When they get to be the same, that minus becomes a zero, and it stops the velocity from moving. And if it gets pushed off, it becomes a non-zero, and then it makes an adjustment. So that adjustment right there, the fact that it's one, like, I think we went for a few years without ever even having scale. Because one is conveniently close to the right number most of the time for most reasonable arms. And so we didn't learn about scaling until the high school started with PID. So we learned English and actually PID.
You did the other two, you figured out those numbers first, and then found out that you really needed to change.
Right, this was the important development to understand that the velocity will be set to the difference between the actual and the goal. The other important thing here is this degrees, right? 90 degrees is, you know, if you did this in revolutions, the scaling factor would have to be like 400 or 350 like that, right? Because you wouldn't have anywhere near the difference between the two if it was in rotations or whatever they call it. Okay, so any other questions there? So, I mean, so far I've showed you like 25 lines of blocks of code, right? Very little code. This is easy. Okay, state machine, or states, right? So, like we showed in the demo, you don't want the robot to have to push and hold out and let go, you know, and have the humans evaluating if I'm high enough or if I need to get a little lower. That's a terrible choice, right? The human's job is to navigate the field, find out where their strategies go next, not to be focused on how high I need to lift the arm so I'm at the right level. You want the arm to go at the proper level on its own. Be just smart about it. So what we've got here is inside a forever loop, we have a set of ifs that says if lift state, it's another variable. And that's one thing, so you'll notice, our programming probably has half as many blocks as most people's and has twice as many variables. Variables are great, blocks are bad. Use variables. So if lift state is equal to 0, then we're going to set the lift position at 20. If lift state's 1, it's 290. If lift state 2 is 470. That's revolutions, or degrees of revolution on this motor, right? So this motor has to go about 470, so almost to 1.5 revolutions to get from the bottom to the top. Oh, there's a 5-to-1 gear ratio, right. So that makes sense. 500 is about, at 5-to-1 would be about 100 degrees of travel. And so from the bottom here to up to here is about 90 degrees, about 100 degrees, so it's great. Okay, so that bit of code allows, remember when we did the controller, go back to the controller at the top there. Remember we said that the up button just sets the clock state to 1 and the clock state to 0, and the other one was a little more complicated. Because if you have 3 steps, you need to be able to go up and down the steps.
We used to have a different system, but this just makes less blocks.
Right. So all it says is if the lift state's below 1.5, then you add 1 to it every time you hit the button. So 0 at 1 make 2. If it's 1 at 1 make 3, 2, whatever. And then if it's 2, it won't add 1 to get to 3. The lift states for this robot is 0, 1, and 2. It probably could have been the 1, 2, and 3. I always love to start with 0 because that's what every variable starts with on its own. So you just start at 0. Especially in this case where the floor is a 0 state. And the 1 state is what I would call the first level of platforms. The 2 state is what we call the second level platforms. So 0, 1, 2 makes a lot of sense when you're talking about the game. So the controller input just changes that variable, lift state. And then back to the lift tab there. Reacting to that variable is this forever loop. It's just a little simple forever loop, runs through three things. It says, okay, if I'm 0, I'm gonna go to position 20. If I'm 1, I'm going to position 290, and if I'm 2, I'm going to go to 470. Right? It's very simple stuff. And then that variable, the left position variable, over here, drives the PID, or the proportional reaction. So if I'm at 470, then this thing's at 0. It's like, okay, 470 minus 0 is 470, times 1 is 470, so velocity 470. VEX is smart enough, they know 470 is actually 100. It won't let you can put 10,000 in there, it's still only at 100. So it's going to go 100 until it gets close, right? When it gets to 450, maybe, well, 370. Once it gets to 400, 470 minus 400 is 70. Now it's starting to slow down, right? When it gets to 450, 470 is 20. It's slowing down, so it not only does it get there, but it soft lands. And depending on the scaling factor, it might soft land or it might overshoot or out of control like we saw before. Okay, that is states, and I guess the proportional reaction to states. Anybody questions? I want to see if, show of hands who think they can do this.
Let me ask you a question about what age level.
I teach this to everybody in my program. Fourth graders, where I start.
Really?
Fourth graders.
How much time do you have to spend? Because they have to be able to do it, to put it, and then they have to explain it to the judge.
Correct. Okay.
So it's just not.
So, have I shown you any math that's beyond fourth graders' ability? It's times and minus. Fourth graders to do times and minus.
What's the net?
The logic.
It's the amount of time for them to
Yes.
assimilate it and do it.
Correct. It is advanced, yes. But there's no reason they can't.
So the first time you put a robot on the field for competition, it includes some basic programming.
It depends on the team.
Control.
It depends on the team. So, with a lot of my fourth grade teams, they may have built a basic robot, and they have thrown in a little bit of programming, but not much, and compete early on. This will be the second half of the season for early teams. For your 8th grade team, you started with this with your first robot, right? So he had full proportional and state machine control and stuff like that on the first grade. Because it's, when you're a 7th, 8th grader, and you've done it 10 times, 11 times easy. Right? They've already learned. Don't get freaked out by, it seems complicated. It is a little complicated, but kids they're amazing. They learn stuff really well. They can figure stuff out. It won't be long before they'll be reminding you on how this stuff works.
How much of this is used in programming acquired skills?
What?
How much of these are used in programming acquired skills?
All of it. This is all for, some of this is for driver control, like the slow turning reaction to the controller. But everything we do here is aimed at making the robot better as a robot, which applies to autonomous skills as well as to driver assistant stuff.
So that's really my question. Sorry, only a second.
No problem.
So this program that you developed with all these different things, you can start this as you are setting your robot down for a team alliance competition.
Yes. Yes. So in the VEX rules, that's a big confusion. People have confused like that. In fact, I get a lot of reactions like, that's cheating, isn't it? In the rules of VEX and in the forum multiple times, they've had to clarify that the robot can drive itself in driver control. Now, it can't react to anything other than some input, so the driver has to push a button to get started. So they want 3, 2, 1, go, they push the button to get started. The robot is allowed to drive itself as long as it wants to. You can run an entire autonomous car. In practical terms, and in best strategy terms, it really only works for about 10 seconds until that other robot can get over here and get in the way, right? So in terms, you've done this regularly, right? How long does your
My next level,
startup routine?
my next level for the one I did for last year was like at least the first half of the match was entirely autonomous. It did the entire.
30 seconds?
It was like for 26.
So 26 seconds. He had 26 seconds with autonomous that ran on its own for every team match.
What if you got an alliance that wanted to do what you programmed autonomous for?
We just go to the other side, we had two different sides.
He had his teams at high level. He programmed routines for both options. Also, what do you have so you can deal with unexpected things.
We had probably a gift that in this year. Did you take the?
It's not in here. I'm saying, what did you have?
We had a button, like one of the F down or like E down buttons, or the F buttons. We had that if during the autonomous, if something maybe went wrong, I would hit that button and it would completely cancel the autonomous, and so it would introduce the government.
Right. We call that a board. The board button, which would cancel out the autonomous button to get back to truck control. So they could take over a manual. Okay. Any other questions? How are we doing on time? I'm going to be done on time.
So, what about, so is there resources online to try to get them to understand states?
Not that I can tell, but
Yeah,
that's
not
going to be
that I
our goal,
can.
to put that online. So, with the new VEX code blocks, VEX code IQ blocks. And he's a high schooler now, so he doesn't feel like he's giving away his trade secrets. He'll beat it with his own stuff. We're committed to doing our YouTube channel. How many people have seen our YouTube channel?
What's it called?
You just have to Google VEX IQ. Let's see how many.
Search for 6210.
Yeah, 61. I'm gonna drag this over on our channel. Go on YouTube on a brand new computer. We're gonna search for VEX IQ, and we're gonna see. The third one down is ours. First one's an ad. Second one's VEX. Third one down. Yeah, that's good. That's what we had 2 camps this summer: the beginner camp and an advanced camp. And you can see this robot regularly doing this stuff. And
I just subscribed. I just subscribed.
Yeah.
Views. I don't watch it, so that's great. I don't hear it.
We're very early in the program, and I'm talking about elementary school. It would seem to me that an easy way to help the kids understand would be to let them build the robot, drive the robot, and then talk about things like what's hard. We always overshoot the platform, or it takes us a long time to get to the right level so that we can convince them they should write a program or a button on the remote to raise it to the right level.
Mhm.
So that, like for me, mentally kind of works into the process a little bit.
Yeah. And so when I said we'd start with this with our teams, our advanced teams have done multiple programs to start with that. If it's a new team, or if you have new kids who've never been on a robot team, it definitely progression should be quickly build a robot, get it on the field and start driving it, figure out what little improvements can be made, figure out what things work good and don't work well. Look around, look at other teams in your school, look at other schools at tournaments. If you can't go to an early tournament to compete, go to watch. Right? Show up at an October or November tournament and look at the robots and go around, walk around the pits. Kids like Dane love to talk about the robots. If you go act interested in them, they will tell you all the secrets. They don't have a pull back the secrets. They always tell, don't stop.
You need to have a league, and have a soccer league so you guys can collaborate throughout the season.
Yeah, early bird. Cause them to not get it. Yeah.
You did talk about mod kit. Do you think that the VEX code will be available to use this year or no?
It is available for download. It's a preview. Is that preview? It's not official release. I used it this week. It's actually it's got close.
But it's nothing like this.
No, it is. It's exactly like this.
Well, I mean,
Every one of these blocks start holding velocity metric. They're in there too.
they are, but
it's
they're separating out with the brain and the left.
Oh, yeah.
It's more linear, like Robot C.
All of these tabs on the top all have to exist in the same sort of plane.
Right.
So what you would probably do, so if you look at the lift, all this lift stuff here where it's doing the pre-setting of the thing and the resetting and then going into the velocity set, and then click over on the claw thing. So there's another set of code, basically it's the same. You can combine that in a single column of blocks in the main IQ blocks doesn't. In fact, Robot Studio and even Robot C graphical, easy. All of them, except for ModKit, are one big lane of code. ModKit's the only one who tabs it out. I particularly like the tabs, it's easier to as a mentor of many teams, it's easier for me to come up and they're like, we got problems. And I can walk up and start looking through and saying, well, I think you got a problem here, right? Because it's more segmented. But I feel like the IQ blocks with everything together is going to make for less number of blocks, right? Less code.
What?
I've run IQ blocks on PC and on Mac, and they're both fine. It's out for Chromebook.
So one comment that I'd have is, we do Robot C, sorry, we tend to be a little bit more hardcore, I suppose. But a couple of things you might want to think about, right, is if you want, like PID loops and stuff, if you go out to GitHub and just search GitHub VEX PID loop, you will absolutely find implementations of PID loops there. But the other piece of it is, as you're going through and developing your code, something I would really strongly recommend, and this is from, I'm like 30 years in the software industry, right? Every single engineer that works for me, I go through and actually, have you checked in your code at least daily, right? And that's a really good thing to get the kids involved with, is get your code checked in. That way, if there's any changes, right, you can always go back to where you started from, and then, you haven't lost that much. More than that, I don't know how many times people have come along, oh look, my thumb drive just went through the dryer and now it's dead with all my code, or whatever, right, or my computer crashed. Check it in, they're free, right? They're GitHub, Bitbucket, there's a whole bunch of them out there.
Or even Dropbox.
Pick one, yeah. Pick one that actually has a CM repo. Get it set up for your school. It's a freebie, and it's a really nice kind of get out of jail free card.
Yep. Every time a kid ruins a program or destroys a program, I say, this is a great opportunity. You're going to reprogram the whole thing, and I promise you the second time around it'll be better. Do it again.
I have at least my program during a tournament. During the design interview, I try to open up the program, and I actually did it.
And what did you do the next week? Very cool.
All the information you need is in your engineering notebook.
That's right. You probably
Completely updated.
Which is faster, variables or broadcast?
Broadcast has, in fact, you'll see a couple places where we use broadcast. We'll get to the other stuff here. Broadcast has an ability that variables don't, but for the most part, so variables are pretty much instantaneously updated. Broadcast also pretty much instantaneous. So I would say on terms of the scale of a robot, because, in terms of a robot, 0.1 seconds is nearly instantaneous. But these things are happening on the 0.00001 seconds time level. So it's always. Okay. Any more questions before we go into? Yeah. So all this stuff right now that we did can work both for autonomous and for driver control. Right? This stuff right here, if I in an autonomous routine somewhere, you put a bit of code in that says set call state equals 0, it's going to close the clock. If I say close equals 1, it's going to open the clock. So my autonomous programs can be just calling these variables out and having these other tabs react to them. So, let's go over and do this thing first. Okay, so one of the advanced techniques that you don't have to use, right, I think is nice, is the ability to debug your code by having some ability to have multiple steps. So in every program, or most programs, you're going to have different steps, different things you're working on, right? And so we created this little system that allows us to push this touch LED, but you can see after we push it, so let's talk through this, touch LED touched, wait for half a second. If it's still touching, so it's basically saying that you push and hold, then it sets a variable, it plays a little sound, and it changes the auto step to the next step up. Auto step variable is the step it's going to run. So in programming for IQ, you set the robot down, you push the button, it does something. You can grab the robot, bring it back, push it down, and then do something else. Grab the robot, bring it back, set it over here, push it down, something else. Right? There's a huge advantage. In fact, you can easily get higher scores programming than you can get driver because of those movement advantages. It would be hard to drive the robot over there, whereas you can move it. Right? The one rule says that if you're holding a game object, when you touch the robot movement, you have to take that game object out. Well, for the hubs last year, for these cubes this year, there's going to be a lot of not holding a game objects. Great opportunity to grab the robot, move it back over to another position. So, we created this little system here that allows you to just push the button to run it. You run here. So he's got a little bit of code that he's already put in here. We'll push the button, and it's gonna run its code. This is all autonomous. I didn't set that right. And now he can grab it and do it again, push the button again, and run a different bit of code. Maybe you come in here and grab this. Okay? So, we'll work on that in a second. So, having this little bit of code, this touch LED, looking to see if it waits, sets a variable, and react to it, allows you to test your first bit of code, and then as you work on your next bit of code, you just jump over that first bit of code by pushing and hold down, and jump it over. It's just an advanced technique. You know,
Are you gonna cover towers later?
we're gonna do it shortly.
Alright.
It's actually pretty easy. So, with that in mind, we're looking at autonomous and how the autonomous steps are set up. So, in this bit of code here, it says when auto start. So, if we went back to the button stuff over here, at some point right down here, it runs broadcast auto start. So, if it decided that it wasn't touched and auto skip wasn't equal to 1, that means that it's going to broadcast auto start. That launches the autonomous thing. So, when I push the button and let go, it launches the autonomous program. Okay? So, auto start says, right here, this program says, if auto control equals, sets auto control equal to 1. Let's go back to the driver quickly.
That obviously does nothing with
Autonomous? Right, that's how it would work. We don't talk about that. So, in this forever loop, you see up the top here, if auto control equals 0, so auto control means it's being autonomously controlled. So if it's equal 0, it means it's digital on or off. We, in general, try to make zeros and ones be 1 being yes and 0 being no. So if auto control is 0, that means it's not in auto control. Then we're setting the auto drive to the stick values, the values of the sticks, right? If auto control equals 1, or not equals 0, we're going to set it to this little bit of math right here. Drive speed minus drive heading, it says heading, minus gyro, okay? The other motor, hold on. Go back.
What is the gyro? That's another.
We're going to get that in just a second. No. And the other motor, the left motor and the right motor are the same, except for the left motor says drive speed minus and the right motor says drive speed plus. Okay? So, this drive heading minus gyro, that's what makes it a whole straight line. We're going to get that in a second. But the drive speed is just a variable that tells it how fast it should go. Right? We're going to set that in here in a second. Okay. So, auto control 1 takes away control from the joysticks and sets the control to be controlled by the variables, the drive heading and the drive speed variables. Then it decides what auto step is on. Auto step equals 1, auto step equals 2, and launches auto 1, auto 2, auto 3. You see we have different columns for the different segments of code, right? So right now we don't have anything under 2, 3, and 4. We just have 1. And so to start on the 1, and see we got a comment in there, trying to comment the programming, right? Is side green cube. So drive speed equals minus 50, drive heading equals 0. So what's that do for us? The map on drive speed is just the speed of both the left and right motors by themselves. So minus 50 will give us a negative drive, it'll drive backwards. Okay? And we use that to back up into the wall. Okay? Every time you reset the robot, especially in the middle of a match, there's a good chance you don't get it square with the field, right? You want your gyro to be square with the field. And so to make it square, make it work well, back up against the wall. Whenever you get a chance, you touch off on the wall and reset the gyro. Right? So in this case, we're going to go backwards by 50% speed, just so it's medium speed. Add drive heading is 0. The heading controls where you're aiming. We'll get to that in a second. And then you'll wait for a half a second, and then reset the gyro. Reset the gyro, go over to the tab of the gyro. Just calls the thing and says reset angle rotation. So if the gyro thinks this is 0, backs up, it's going to, now this is going to be 0. 0 degrees is right. Gyro perfectly square with the field, right? That's another technique to make sure it's consistent. So it doesn't matter how sloppy the robot was set down, it'll always be square to the wall. You definitely want to build the robot with a nice big flat face on the back, so that when you back up against the wall, it squares itself nicely. Okay, back to this. Okay, and then we also reset drive motors. Okay, that's a command that just tells the motor to zero there and motors out. So when I first set this down, turn it on, if I roll back a little bit, the motor's probably go minus 30 or 40 or 50 degrees, right? Right then, it's gonna back up and zero the motor. So we know positionally where we're at, zero in a very consistent spot. We know angularly where we're at, back to zero is a good spot. And then we got a long way back. Probably doesn't get any more. And now these are the commands where it's actually going out and doing stuff. So it's driving forward at 50, it's waiting for a certain amount of time, 1.5 seconds. Then with the drive speed drops down to 10, and the clock state is called a 0. So remember, the variables in clock state are still active. It's still trying to, if I tell this clock state to be 0, it's going to open up. If I say it's 1, it's going to close. Yeah. Right? Lift state's a 0 at the bottom. If I tell the lift state is 1, it's going to go up to that medium state. So this autonomous routine only has to say, clock state equals 0. It was 1, it was 0, now it's 1. We're going to wait, what, 1 second to give it a chance to have some time to close up. And then lift equals 1, drive speed equals 50, again, just drive forward. Are you fixing something that you spotted earlier? Okay, so he's fixing a time value, and then, and when we have this 2.5 seconds, we're gonna get to the point where we wanna put that cube down. He's gonna call drive speed equals 0. That means the motor's gonna stop. They're not gonna go anymore, right? And then he's gonna call claw state equals 0, which is opening up the claw, and the cube is down, going down. Yep. So he just made some changes based on what, we saw this over lunch, right?
You just showed it right there.
So, how many lines of code is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15. 15 lines of code for 20 points. That's a point or better per line of code. And here we go. I'm not even going to unplug the cable. So back up a little bit. Goes forward, grabs this. Okay, so something didn't go right. It looks like it didn't go to lift state 1. Debug.
Do you find time to be more accurate than like the rotations? Because none of my kids love to do like have it rotate for 1 rotation, 4 rotations, as opposed to time.
So we're going to show that in a little bit.
I was saying, because otherwise, why would you zero out the motors? You need to zero the motors if you're going to.
We're going to go to these report bands where we actually set the distance we go here based on a travel distance.
If you do rotations, one rotation is 27 meters per wheel, yeah.
Okay.
We have that in.
What happened here? You figure out the problem is?
It's in the big one.
The battery's almost dead.
That does better.
The battery's dead. So I'm not going to download again, let's start again and see. Okay, in the meantime, how much time do we have left? I guess the word that Dallas is taking longer than necessary, so we have 13 minutes. Okay. Again, the rules of VEX allow you, or force you to push the button on the robot to start, right? So we're just going to tap that button there and get started. Backs up, gets low, scores up, runs out, grabs it up, runs forward. A little sloppy.
I'll take that.
Make some adjustments. He's going to make adjustments. And this is where the dad can help by moving the field instead of the field. Spent a lot of back-breaking hours resetting the fields. I'm a huge fan of the long USB cable, by the way. What this is. So you notice the cable, I've not unplugged the cable. We're going to be running this thing hundreds of times. I don't want to unplug that cable 100 times. Well, VEX IQ blocks has promised wireless downloads of Bluetooth. Probably want to see it. I've been promised that before. Come on, VEX.
That's what they have in the Bluetooth one, they promised that.
I promise you.
So this program, you have to keep it hooked up with the USB cable.
To do a download. So when he makes a change, and then he has to save it in your brain.
When we're in the competition.
No. In fact, you can't keep competition. You got it, ready? Yeah, your job is always to hit play. I'll hit play. There's the back up, running out, fix the thing. So he made some adjustments, looks much better. Nicely done. Okay, now, what if we're not, so, the way to be good, this works great on this field, because this field is just the same every time. If I take this to another field, especially one sloped differently, that distance travel that I get is gonna be different, because it's only based on time. I just waited for, well, how many seconds did you wait there? Until it's a certain amount of seconds, right? And so if it was a downhill versus an uphill, it's not gonna go as fast, it will get there or get too far, and that'll be inconsistent. The difficulty in getting good scores on different fields at different events, including Worlds is the hardest, because they got 15 fields there, and you're randomly gonna assign one of them. You'll never get that same one the next time. So even if you got it working on field 7, next time you're up there on field 13.
In all of my attempts, I did not get a single one.
Never had to say field twice in all your attempts this year. So you have to have it, be able to deal with field variation, and non-levelness is the chief field variation issue, okay?
State.
So, program up, instead of a weight, put a while for a distance.
We'll do it here.
So you don't have to do it before the cube, right? Because the cube can move. So you can overdrive with the cube, you're fine.
We'll do it right here. So give it the drive speed and the.
So you just took 2 blocks off the middle there. Okay. Well, it's actually the same as 1, right? And now you got to put in a way to react to the motor and coders of the drive link, right? Pressure's on. Everybody's waiting and watching for you, and I'm not helping. Yeah, so he wouldn't check and saw that there's a variable in there that says drive distance equals it's actually the addition, the average of both motors, right? Times the scaling factor to make it equal in inches. So
Where is that now?
how many inches do you have to go to get there?
I'm doing, it's from right here.
You have to get to here, right?
I'm getting from here to like.
So from here, all the way there.
Here to about.
This is the 0 point.
Okay. So I was doing this from one to the cube.
No, you're not going to 0 point to the cube, right? It's 0 point here.
Oh, you're right.
So the 0 point is back here, because that's where we zeroed that.
2, 3.
You can count it. Yeah, okay.
About 2.5. And is it in inches? Alright. I'm pretty sure.
I'm going to test it. We're going by the 0 point.
20.
It was on your robot, but I don't know if it's on this robot.
You put that in, you did that in.
Just try it.
One second.
Try it.
30.
Okay, so before he had a weight in there, right? He was waiting a certain amount of time. So wait 2.5 seconds, and that allowed the robot to get a certain distance. Instead now, he's going to put a while. Drive distance is less than a certain value. Okay? Remember, drive distance is 0 because we reset here, right? And the motor encoders are figuring out what the drive distance is. There's some math in here to try to make it into inches, which makes it more translatable into the real world. You're guessing 30 inches of travel?
Sure. 2.5.
6. Well, yeah, no, that's probably perfect. And then, so this while loop will just tie up the robot until it achieves that distance, and then it'll go on. Just like a weight, but it's actually wait until we get to a certain distance. So it's a smart weight. Download. And it works. Okay, let's, it looked like it was a little overshooting.
Yeah.
So you can make an adjustment.
29 probably. 3.9.
Again, that do the work, it gets to do the glory. So what did you change it to? So this should be an inch shorter. And it did go a little shorter, so it worked. Okay, good job. All right, so, show of hands, does everybody think they can do that? It's like 12 lines of code, everybody can do this, right? Good. This robot is, if let's see if I'm gonna skip I'm gonna just run an empty step. Okay. It's currently fighting to stay in position. You see how the gyro is active right now? This is actually running an empty routine. I skipped over version 1 and running version 2 is empty, right? But you see how the robot is trying to get to the position I set the gyro in. In fact, let's restart it here. Square it up. So if I move this here, it's dying to get back there, right? Why is it trying to do that? It's set up in the map to make it do that. It always turns toward gyro equals 0 in this case, because we're asking to be gyro 0. Okay? You have to go overlap and it'll go back around. Yeah, there's some. Okay. Okay. Back to this motor thing. We're going to explain the gyro stuff.
Yes, please.
Back to the gyro stuff. So, what you didn't see behind the scenes, the reason this thing went straight every time, even though the tables all, because the gyro was in there. It's already baked into there. In the left drive, here's the map. Hold down at some point. Come down. Okay. Right here, remember we said when auto control is 0, it's controlled by the sticks. That's auto, that's human control. And this is robot control, right? And the map says auto drive left is equal to the drive speed. Where we were setting at the minus 50 to go backwards, and it's both the left and right motors are, so that's a minus 50, minus 0 is minus 50, and the other one is minus 50. But then the heading minus the gyro is the next bit that makes it happen, right? Heading is what we're asking for. We've always had that 0. In fact, once you go back and change your code to make it turn after we finish this, it's heading minus gyro. On the other side, the right motor, it probably says heading plus gyro. It's a negative effect. So, if gyro is 0 this direction, and gyro gets turned to being 20,
90,000. Is
that way? Okay. If it's 20 degrees here, then that motor now says, oh, everything's 0, but I have a gyro off, direction of 20. I'm going to make these wheels go positive a little bit, these wheels go negative a little bit, and come around until I get to the point where the gyro is 0. So this is a PID, a proportional for the drive system to align itself to the gyro. Okay, what did you add?
I added the drive again.
Okay, so here's the time. This auto controlling 0 is going to kill it. Just go wait.
Should I make it? I can make it go pick up the green.
We're getting run out of time. That auto control has to be out of that. Much as or little as you need.
I'm just gonna, I'm checking it.
I think we'll just wait till they show up. And then we'll be
Drive speed.
No, it's already spent. It's already set at 0. So when he stops at 0, it's just going to not go forward back at all. But the drive heading to 90 will say, now I don't want to go forward back any, I want to turn. Is it going to turn on? I would say right.
I know because
I trust you. You know what I mean? I agree. Okay, so he's added another bit of code on the end of this thing that he just created that has the thing turning. And you see the code he added was literally 2 blocks. So now it should turn. Okay. So, yeah.
Question I have up there is one we have a slight amount of drift, like about a minute, about 20 to 40 degrees.
Yes.
It's battery level speed, whatever. I mean, it's not a linear drift. How do I compensate for that?
Correct.
Or is there that?
You want to explain?
There are
a couple of different ways to do with that.
I'll explain my way. My way is I buy 10 gyros and test them all and find the one that's good. Go the other way. That's my way. But you deal with programming.
There are programming ways there's 2 different ways to do it. One, which is the one we did last year, which was where we reset like every, like 5 to 10 seconds, we reset, like, maybe.
So in this case, you won't be able to do that, right? So you're gonna go out and do one thing that's gonna take 5 seconds. It might drift a degree or two in 5 seconds. You'll come back. When you hit the button again, it'll reset the gyro again. So even if it's drifted a couple degrees, once you hit that reset hit again, it's gonna zero that drift out. And so basically you're resetting a lot to avoid the drift being a significant player. Yeah.
Does my kit not have a way to calibrate gyro?
It doesn't work. Not very well. When you call calibrate gyro, it calibrates it with the drift is still there. So the other way is to manually calibrate.
Where, so we had, 2 years ago, when we had long drives, and we did, like, the just got really bad, we added an anti-creep, where at the beginning of the program, it would wait 5 seconds, and it would find the creep, how much the gyro had creeped. And then we set that as a variable, as like and then we divided that number by 5, to just find this variable that was basically the gyro, how much it creeps per second. And what we did is every second, we just subtracted that from the gyro.
Times the timer.
Times the time.
So in essence, it did its own calibration, right? So reset the gyro. Don't touch the robot for 5 seconds. If you touch the robot, it's lost, right? Because you need the robot to be still, and the gyro has to be drifting for 5 seconds. And then measure the gyro in those 5 seconds automatically, and send it to a variable. Like you said, divide by 5, so it's now degrees per second of drift variable, and then you can use that in conjunction with a timer to correct gyro heads. I felt that was too advanced for even this thing, but I was happy with it. Anybody else? Questions? So, gyro, is this, I mean, go back to the thing. The gyro is literally just this little bit right here, right? It just says, look at the gyro, and if it's not zero, make an adjustment to the speed, and then it'll correct itself, right? Very easy. Really.
That had just said forever gyro equals gyro.
Yeah, because if the gyro went like that or something, and you had to delete the gyro, this is part of the philosophy of never put calls to us a subsystem that can't be deleted with the subsystem. And so this gyro value would just be forever be 0 if we don't have this forever continuously setting gyro value to the actual value coming out of the sensor. Right? And of course we had the place where everything backed up and opened the link. We had a broadcast that did the reset gyro, and it just calls out this. And this command, this reset and angle and rotation, is only available in the tab for gyro. It's not available in the other tabs. Yeah. What's the LED? That's the LED tab. Empty. So let's just go through real quick. So gyro has a couple little gyro things. Just set the variable. Controller has, the dead zones for the sticks, and it has the responding and way of changing variables by the buttons, but only stuff for the controller. Claw has the startup initialization stuff, and then the forever response to the positional thing, as well as claw states. Right? You want to try and group things. You can put that claw state in the brain, you put it in the drawing, put it anywhere, right? It would work. But it makes sense to be in the tab. Lift, same thing, lift states over here, lift initialization over there, lift management, or lift PID down here. Right drive is, so there's up here the reset rotation, or when we backed up and wanted the reset rotation, that calls and drive for that. And then we have the auto, or the human control variable driven and the auto control variable driven between second section.
Basically,
yep. And same thing left and right, I should say. And then autonomous, right, it's the response to the buttons for launching autonomous routines, and then the actual autonomous routines.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, if you put stuff under all those tabs, when you upload, it will upload everything, you don't have to figure that out, upload.
Yeah, in my case, all these tabs are the one whole program, and they all go up at the same time.
Question?
They add some more movement for a second auto call.
When I've been using ModPit last year, I didn't use the brain, I used the drive bits to work off everything, not the brain.
Right. You use the subcomponent And those drive bays over here? I think that's fine, that's not auto based. Because,
I agree.
yeah, because it's got some varying limitations. In fact, it doesn't have a configuration for four omnis, right? It's got the two friction and two omnis, and it's got two or four frictions, it doesn't have four omnis. So it doesn't even properly do a lot of the more advanced stuff you do.
Okay.
It's a good starting spot, I love my kit and robot, the new program we talked about, the VEX code IQ blocks, has that same kind of stuff. It's got even better. It's sub-base configuration, I haven't tried it yet. Allows you to find two motors for right and left drive, and a gyro. So it's got some of this gyro smarts encoded into it, I haven't tried it. So somehow you probably can use that to call it to turn to a head. It's got gyro.
So what's the programming thing that has the picture of it running the program? Or the simulations?
Oh, Robot Mesh Studio, right.
That's still not out yet.
No, Robot Mesh Studio is available. Robot Mesh Studio, Randy, do you know anything about whether Robot Mesh Studio is going to have virtual worlds still? Or is it, no, it's Robot C's virtual worlds, right?
Yeah, Robot C is very.
Yeah, virtual
And
worlds.
it's been up for a couple of years.
Well, but every year they program a new version of it for the game, right? So they have to program a new version of Robot Virtual Worlds. Each year it's questionable as to when it's going to be. So,
That's something that has to be informed.
yeah.
I thought my knees were better than this.
And that's kind of a cool thing. Robot Mesh Studio also has a little bit of that. We showed that where it has some kind of virtual world programming. I doubt it has this game baked into it yet either. I mean, they just announced this game not that long ago. Those companies have to figure a way to make their virtual robot interact with the virtual new objects they have to create, right? So it's not like it's something they can have super quick. All right, don't go crazy here. Bree, how we doing? Are we gonna?
He just said they're still going, if the group needs a break, maybe give them a break.
Okay, who wants to talk more about programming? Who wants to take a break? More program.
Our program.
Break?
I guess I do have a
You
question.
take a break, you take a break.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If, a lot of what you've talked about is the way you structure the program, basically the architecture of how you set it up. Have you found a resource of how to explain that to kids? Of giving them different options, like you were talking about using the drivetrain base versus the left and right.
I haven't seen anything really good on that. I've kind of had to develop all this stuff on my own and teach my kids on how to do it.
So when you do it on your own, are you remaining in the market, like to explain how, trying to think of how to explain how states work?
I think you could go and explain on a more general level what a state is, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy to demonstrate because you can download and try and do stuff. So in general, when I'm teaching kids how to do robots, we stay in my kit, we stay near the field, we stay near a robot and have it plugged in continuously. So we're continuously able to make changes, download, run it, see what happens. That's the ideal scenario for quickly learning things out.
How many hours a week do you meet with the kids?
We meet 4 hours a week on every week of the school, plus 4 to 8 hours additionally when they had circle. So, a lot. Most, I don't know if anybody. Yeah.
You keep these for
Yep, we had, last year we had 7 middle school teams and 4 elementary teams. The 7 middle school teams were almost exclusively made up, like 90% of the kids had done the last 4, and a few new ones. We sprinkle new ones in on various teams, so there's no new team. Every team has a programmer who's been doing some programming for some time, and at least one, if not 2. And then obviously, it's hard because each year you have challenges of interaction between kids who have different attitudes, different work ethics, different wants throughout the season, and you're still trying to sort out, you have some kids who are like, I hate the program, I'm not a programmer, I love to drive, I love to build. You got to try to find them a home for their skill set. Managing the humans of a team is the hardest part of the team. The robot and the programming is easy.
Easier.
Any other questions? So Dane's got a second routine here. You want the first one or you skip it? Okay. So he's in the process of developing the scoring technique for this. For this, but
The best,
all he said.
Do your kids leaving the middle school, do they do pretty well going to high school? Because at high school, there's no mod kit, correct?
No, but the logic's the same. It's just looks different, okay? So there's a tab that has the claw that says that, that's basically, runs a little program and it resets the encoder, and then it runs a little program that continuously stays alive and puts the thing to the goal state. That exact same logic works in a high school text-based program. It just doesn't look like the blocks. It's a set of subroutine little sections as part of their big, tons of code in their program.
Many of your students ever requested to do text-based programming so they could get a jump on us? Yeah.
Yes, and you did it last year, right?
yeah.
First half of last year, Dane did.
No, this year.
Well, this last year.
This last year.
This year is.
Okay, yeah, this last year, yes. I still have the two mixed up.
And what happened with that, Dane?
I did not like it.
And what happened before that season was over?
I didn't like it.
He moved back. I probably should have insisted that he could try and not learn it, he would have been better served. But he got greedy, wanted to. Any other questions? I think people are going to start throwing it back down here shortly.
Do you meet twice a week or you meet 4 hours?
Once a week, 4 hours on Friday. We do it from 3 to 7 because that allows some of our parent coaches who can't get there at 3 to get there at 4 or 4:30 and still have a good amount of session left. And because there's sports that interfere, a lot of times sports go from 3 to 5, and then those people go from 5 to 7. And sometimes there's sports 5 to 7, they come 3 to 5. So having a 4-hour section seems a little bit rough with some kids, and this is middle schoolers. Our elementary kids don't do 4 hours a week on afternoon. They do it Saturdays.
You do it on Saturdays?
2 hours on Saturday.
Elementary for 2 hours.
That's what we're saying here. What's the program?
What, do you have a kill switch where the arms are not using states to manually?
It's not the same. It's not programmed, but it could be. You can add.
I was curious.
A button to do that. It doesn't have it on there. That's the kind of thing that you would add later this year, right, Dane? Getting close. Man, there's a lot of grip in that gyro. I can literally see the thing gripping.
That's a bad one.
Check the grip. That's your gyro grip. I can literally watch it.
That's one of the gyros that I throw away.
Some of them are just inherently bad. Others do better when they're actually warmed up.
The worst I've seen is
If we want to hold one of these guys out, yeah, one point, probably put a still right in all that we did some quick gyro. Yes. What's that? Yeah. The VEX OS, so inside VEX OS is some additional stuff that makes the stuff work better, right? Like the loaders, there's out how in each version of VEX OS they download new firmware. And so you always want to have the best version of the best version of those VEX OS.
There's a lot more to it.
It depends, well, you can't make up a robot reset it. So in teamwork and in driving skills, you have to drive it. Maybe it's last year, she had to hold some things. Just clarification, real quick. Trainer brings up a good point. We're showing you guys how you can pick up the robot and reset it. You can do that in programming skills only. That is not legal as a strategy in driver skills or in teamwork matches. Resetting the robot. You see how Dane's got a program where it drives out, it scores this, and then he picks it up and puts it back here and hits a button again. That's allowable by VEX rules in programming skills only. In driver skills, if you wanted to use that a little bit, you would have to drive it back here and then another button, or you'd have to, couldn't hit the button on the controller. Or he would have to just drive manually from that on. And in teamwork, same thing. You're not allowed to reset the robot for strategic purposes in driver or in driver skills. You can reset the robot if it's, wrecked upside down, or if it's hung up on something, or it falls out of the field, or a piece falls off of it. You're like, oh, that. You're allowed to set the controller down, bring it back here, fix it. You don't have to wait until the referee's okay. You signal the referee and put the controller down. Referees can't wait to do it. The rules say signal the referee by putting the controller down. So if your robot wrecks, put the controller down, the driver who has the controller. Either driver goes and grabs it, brings it back in, either it can be this or this driver, and then pick it up. This is ModKit through a browser, yes, that's an online process. We've used, so I like online because when he hits save, it saves to the cloud, and then this is George Glitner's computer. My computer's not here. It's here. And so, the prep work we did last night to get this ready, we saved the cloud. George brought up ModKit on his computer, we opened it up, logged in and opened it up. So, if you do it on your own computer, then you have a file on that computer, not in the cloud. If you lose that file, you don't have it on the computer.